Hi, I'm Caden, here with my brother,
Cal,
and you're watching Eating W's.
eat the W.
That's a W. Let's eat one. Let's eat one. That's a W.
On today's episode of Eating W's, we have our NFL Week 5 preview and predictions. Before we jump into the games though, just a quick update on Cal and I's head-to-head pick'em. I had a pretty solid last week, dropping 11 points, but Callan scoffed at that and did even better, hitting both his lock and his upset and dropping 14 total points, putting us at a total score of me with 39 and him with 42. So he does have that 3-point lead back, but as we've seen years in the past, 3 points is absolutely nothing. That can swing in 1 week, big time. So
all it takes is a good week.
Exactly. Still very much anybody's game. Speaking of anybody's game, we will look at this week's matchup, starting with the Thursday night football game of the Chicago Bears heading to Washington to take on the Commanders. And again, we start off the week by agreeing. We both have the Commanders in this one. I was just telling Callum before we started recording, I think this is going to be a much closer game than people expect and kind of be a shootout. Both of these teams really found their strides on offense last week. Sadly for the Bears, they found their stride on offense, but found the opposite of any sort of a stride on defense. And the Commanders are kind of in a similar boat, putting up 30 points, but still losing by allowing 34 points. So this is going to be a true shootout, you would imagine at least. Two younger quarterbacks, two quarterbacks who have a lot to prove and are really going to be fighting for their lives right now. So I do think the Commanders win, but I think that this is an entertaining game, big time.
Yeah, I definitely think it'll be more entertaining than last year's matchup of this game, where it was 12-7, and it was a garbage game. This will definitely be much more exciting, with Sam Howell showing that he is very competent and very able to play starting quarterback in the NFL by almost upsetting the Eagles last week. And Justin Fields really got it together too, by throwing 4 touchdowns in his first ever 300-yard game, but he had a killer interception and a drop fumble that was part of the Denver Broncos comeback against the Bears last week. He'll have to clean up those turnovers if he hopes to beat the Commanders this week, but I don't think he will. I think that Chase Young will get too much pressure on him, and they'll force another couple fumbles on him.
He will be going against really good pass rush, but the question is, can they keep contained? Because that is always the question when going against a guy like Justin Fields. Next up, we have our game of the week, which is also a London game, with the Jacksonville Jaguars going to London, I guess, to take on the Bills. But the ironic part is they never left London, considering they just played there last week. So I don't know how they're the home game last week and the away game this week, even though they never left. Lots of questions.
Doesn't make any sense.
The NFL doesn't make sense in general. But we have the Jaguars taking on the Bills, and we have a disagreement here. I have the Bills in this one, while Callan has the Jaguars as his upset. Now, the Jaguars are known for playing good in London. It's something weird, but it feels like every time they go to London, they win. But they're usually going against a lesser team in London. This time, they are definitely not doing that. The Bills are on a roll right now. Their defense is firing on all cylinders, and their offense might somehow be playing even better. Josh Allen has returned to that true MVP form that a lot of people think he should be, and that defense in general has returned to what a lot of people thought they should have been, which they didn't overly show last year earlier in this season. So I think that they are able to go to London, go against the London Jaguars, and go pick up a win.
And I think the Jaguars get the upset here because they're in London, where the Jaguars seem to play really well and almost would call London their second home by being the team with the most London games and most London victories in the NFL. And Trevor Lawrence will be the key here. As long as he does not turn the ball over, I see a very good victory for the Jaguars here this week. As long as he's able to protect the ball and not throw any interceptions or lose any fumbles, I think that's the key to the Jaguars' victory. And also the fact that, like you said, they got to stay in London, so there'll be no jet lag or any of that. You want to talk about teams coming from East Coast or West Coast and coming on. I mean, this is overseas game. I don't know where that fits in the theory, but
yeah, you thought coast to coast was bad. Fly that plane over the ocean and see how you feel.
Right. So, and that's the Bills coming off of that plane though. So, whereas whereas Jacksonville got to stay in London and is more comfortable.
Definitely. Should be another one that's a shootout and very entertaining at the end of the day. Now we are going to jump way down the list, down to the Kansas City Chiefs heading to Minnesota to take on the Vikings. And we disagree yet again. I have the Vikings in this one. Callan has the Chiefs. Now we all know what this game rides on. It's whether or not Taylor Swift is there. If Taylor Swift is there, the NFL is going to ensure that the Chiefs win at any cost, no matter what flags they have to miss, what flags they have to throw, when they have to throw them. They'll make sure that the Chiefs are 3-0 as Swifties, as they put that they were 2-0 on their NFL official Instagram account. So, as a Vikings fan, really hoping Taylor isn't able to make it for the game. We'll see. And to be honest, if Taylor isn't there, I've seen some theories on Twitter that the NFL might actually flip it and make sure that the Chiefs lose at all costs if Taylor isn't there, so they can ensure she's there in the future as a good luck charm. And I kind of like that. So I could sit here and I could talk about the matchup all day, but we know these two teams, and we know it's all going to come down to Taylor Swift.
And I'm betting that she's there. And I got the Chiefs winning for it. No, but I think that unless Harrison Smith continues his resurgence, which will be interesting to see if he's able to continue the type of play that he played last week. I think Patrick Mahomes will get on cue or on key and be able to throw all over this young Vikings defense.
It's ironic because those first two games we talked about how they're maybe not quite as marquee matchups. Well, I guess the Jags and Bills are, but they're going to be kind of shootouts and really entertaining games. I feel like this one, a lot of people are kind of chalking up to be a shootout entertaining, and it's going to end up being one of those like low scoring, just knockdown drag out ones.
13-10.
Just kind of garbage bowl, but I don't know. I hope it's not, because I don't
3 turnovers by each team.
I don't want to sit there and watch that all game. Well, 3 turnovers by the Vikings, that's for sure.
That's a given.
That's a given these days. But we'll see how it goes. Stay out of Minneapolis, Taylor Swift. Now moving on to our Sunday night football game, and probably the true game of the week, with the Dallas Cowboys heading to San Francisco to take on the 49ers in the battle of the only 2 unbeaten teams left. Mistaken. Cowboys aren't, Eagles are.
Yep.
Disregard everything I said. We got the Cowboys heading to San Francisco to take on the 49ers.
Who are unbeaten.
They are. But
really
just a battle for the NFC, to say the least. And we agree here. We both have the San Francisco 49ers. Dallas shows so many cracks in their armors week in and week out. They are a hell of a team, don't get me wrong. But they show that they overlook opponents sometimes, like they did against the Arizona Cardinals.
Mm-hmm.
They show that sometimes they're not quite as good in the positions they should be, with Dak having a less than perfect game last week. So I just think that the 49ers are way too solid, and more than anything, way too consistent. I think this will be a close game at the end of the day, but I think the 49ers come out on top.
I like the 49ers too because of not only because of their defense, which continues to be number 1 in the NFL since last year, but also because of Christian McCaffrey, who tied a 49ers record with 4 touchdowns?
4 total
touchdowns against the Cardinals last week. And I think that he's going to have another huge game. He's been really big all season long. He's one of the top MVP candidates early on, and I think that he is going to be one of the top candidates all season long.
Yeah, definitely. He has just been absolutely murdering it, and I think with the 49ers, I touched on already, but just consistency is the word there. Christian McCaffrey, consistently good. That offensive line consistently blocks. That defense consistently number 1. It's just hard to beat a team that is that well-rounded.
Yep.
So now finally we have our Monday night football game and the Green Bay Packers game, with the Packers heading to Las Vegas to take on the Raiders. And we finished the episode off just as we started by agreeing We both have the Packers in this one. If I'm not mistaken, this will be the first time Davante Adams faces the Packers as a Raider, or
I'm terrified
as a non-Packer. So I think that he probably will go out there and have that fire lit under his ass, have a really good game. And again, kind of sound like a broken record, but I think that this is going to end up being a really close game at the end of the day. I don't see any sort of a blowout falling either way right here. I think it's going to be a little more of a knockdown, drag-out fight, like I mentioned with the Vikings one. But we'll see how that plays out. I think that Jordan Love returns to form a little more. I don't think he gets quite as destroyed by the pass rush as he did last week in Detroit. Las Vegas has some pretty good pass rush, especially with Max Crosby being up there. But I just don't think it can be anywhere near as bad as it was in Detroit.
No, and we got 10 plus days for rest. We're getting Elton Jenkins back, not Bakhtiari, but we're getting 10 days to kind of get that offensive line in shape and get it more consistently put together instead of having 3 days in between like we did with the Saints and Lions game. I think that the blocking will be much better this game. Now, that being said, the one thing that needs to happen is the run blocking needs to be better, and we need to get Aaron Jones going. He needs to get off a snap count. Let him loose. And it's time to let him loose and play the full game with him. He's going to have, like I said, over 10 days of rest on that hamstring. He didn't have any setbacks during the last game. I think he should be able to go full strength this game. And one thing I am worried about is our run defense and allowing rushing touchdowns and large rushing yards. And Josh Jacobs has proved that he's one of the top running backs in the NFL, and he's one of those really good ones. So if the Raiders do pull off the upset here, it's because Josh Jacobs had a really good game, not Davante Adams.
Yeah, in separate interviews, Josh Jacobs said, "I'm tired of effing losing." And then in a different interview, Davante Adams said, "I'm too old to be in this position." Those aren't exact quotes, of course, but two guys that definitely are looking to go out and get a win. So the Packers are going to have to show up if they want to make sure that doesn't happen. That was our predictions for Week 5 of the NFL season. Make sure to stay tuned in till next week here on Eating W's. But until then, don't forget
to eat the W.